Market update time. Let's get straight into it. Do not place a trade based on what you're seeing in this video today, because trading is risky and it can cause substantial financial loss. There are so many areas you need to become good at to become a good trader. Emotional mastery, chart reading, trading systems, money and trade management. So this video is just educational only to help you become a much better trader. Alright, let's have a look at the US indices, including the VIX, and also have a look at the transportation average as well. So looking at the Dow Jones, if I bring up, let me just bring up say 3 months worth of data here for a minute. Firstly, we can see that obviously the market came down through there, but the buyers came in sort of at the very last end of the day and sort of closed very close there, but down just say 50 points. This is not even 0.5% on the Dow. But today for me was really interesting, and especially where we closed today is really interesting, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Now the one thing that I want you guys to realize and start to see is that if you look at the volume, we're in this leg down, we're starting to get an increase in volume. Notice how we actually, from basically this point here moving up, the volume was going down. Now remember, I've said this in the past, but when you start to get that sort of divergence where the price is going up but volume's going down, that's saying that this could be a sucker rally, and what we need for confirmation is to see the opposite. And what is the opposite? Is that when the market starts to go down, you start to see volume going up. That shows you that this was just a sucker rally and now we're heading down, and this here is likely to be the downtrend. Now what I'm seeing with the Dow Jones where it is right now, I think going into the FOMC tonight, I think the market might be happy and we may get a little rally to the high side. But I think that's all we're going to get. If we get that, we may just continue straight down. But I think we may get a little rally to the high side based on what the FOMC announces, but we don't know what's going to happen with that. So I think either two things are going to happen. One, we're just going to continue down, or two, we may get a little rally out of this, and I'll show you one of the reasons why I think that. But we may get a little rally, but I think that's all that happens. And if we do get a little rally, that is definitely a setup for a big move on the downside. And so by looking at the Dow Jones, you can see how we've actually broken below that. And once again, looking at the volume. Now, let me actually show you a few other things as well too. First thing I wanted to say is that you can see. Let me actually zoom this in a bit more. The reason why this is important where we are right now is because we've actually started to close lower than this low over here. So if I get my pen, you can see this low over here. So let me actually bring two different lows. We have the low point of the wicks, okay, and then let's make a green, and we have a low point of the close. So the lowest close was right there. So that was the lowest close, okay, of the bar. So you have the lowest wick on this, what we call, we have the lowest wick on this trough here. On this trough here, we have the blue line is the lowest wick, the green line is the lowest close. So, but if you have a look, let me just go back to say a line, and we'll go back to blue. You can see the lowest wick. What actually happened there? Actually, let's go to arrow. We'll go to blue. The lowest wick gave us a lower low through there, and the lowest close, like the lowest close it had on this trough. What did that also give us? That also gave us that close. Remember, that was the lowest close there. Okay, that was the lowest close there. Then this is the lowest close here. If you're noticing what's happening here, the market's starting to give us a lower low through here. So in a nutshell, what we're getting is we're getting this trough, we've got this peak, we got this lower peak, we got this higher trough, we got this higher peak, now we got this lower trough. The lower trough's already formed. So that's why I said a minute ago, by looking at the peaks and troughs and flowing with it, we have a trough through there, we have a peak through there, we have a trough through there. This is looking on the short term, by the way. This is funnering through. We can see that even though we made this high trough, we broke up, we couldn't stay above here. And the reason why I think we're likely, if we do get a little upside, it's going to be short-lived, and then big downward movement's going to come, is due to the fact that we could not close above these levels here. So if I actually let me bring up, say, this blue, this green here. Actually, I'll bring up red. You can see how we had this high point up through here and this high point up through here. Now, if the market was truly strong, if the market broke up, when the market broke up through here, and you can see the market actually broke up through there, if the market was truly strong, it would have just continued up doing that. You know what I mean? So you would have actually seen this sort of action. If the market was truly strong, again, reading the price action, you can see if the market was truly strong, you would have actually seen the market hold, especially even if the market ran down here, down through here a little bit, and then maybe bounced and then took off. But you can see here was two levels of support that the market could hold. And if the market was truly strong, it would have broke past these two areas of resistance, which it did, and it would have been support. But what happened? The market broke down. It broke down, and as you can see, if you see this right here, what is this point right here? Let's actually make it green arrow. What is that point right there? That point right there is where the market actually opened there. It ran up, rejected, came down, and closed there. Now, as you can see, this area now is being an area of resistance once again. It was resistance here. It's a whole ton of area of resistance here. And now because we broke down and we closed back below that, this is a little false breakout. And now we're getting selling with selling volume. That's showing you there's conviction in this move. And now we're likely to stay in this move. So a few things that's saying to me we're now likely to turn down. One, we had a false breakout and we could not sustain that. Even though we had two areas of really good support for at least to run back up here to 18,100. That didn't even happen, which was the next area of resistance. It broke up, we had a false breakout there. Then we broke down, closed below, and now we're getting this area of resistance. And now we're broken down, and now we're getting this overall area of this lower trough through here, lower trough. So for me, guys, it depends on what the FOMC announcement is going to do. I'm actually thinking, my gut's telling me that we may get a little rally to the high side tonight. A little rally, or maybe even a nice rally. You know, the market might open up here, and let's just go line. The market might open up here and then just having like a nice update through there. But even if that happens, that to me is going to be short-lived, because we may get like a little doji through here, and then all I can see is if the market does do that, then the market's likely to roll over, creating what? Now creating a lower peak. Let's actually go to pen, a lower peak. So now what do you have? You have a shoulder, a head, a shoulder, or what do we have? We have a trough. We have a lower peak, we have a higher trough, we have a higher peak / false breakout. Breaks down to make a lower trough. Sells are starting to slightly slow in control. It's likely to run up. And if we confirm that lower peak and we start to head down, this is going to be like a bit of a head and shoulder formation / lower peak, which is we've already got the lower trough. Then we're likely to see big moves on the downside to come, and bam, 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 down we are likely to go. So that's what I see there on the Dow Jones. Let me go back to this point through here, and I want to show you what I see here. So as you can see, even this point before the market broke down, you can see that this here was actually the FOMC announcement day, and everyone thought everything. This is where they actually raised rates, you know, at the start of the year, or actually towards the end of the year. So you can see they actually raised rates here. The market had a nice up day, but guess what? It was still lower. So we were still creating lows, lower peak, and also major lower peak. And what actually happened? Then we started the descent. Remember, it's all about the peaks and troughs. We have this lower trough, runs up, makes this lower peak, and then we drop down. Makes sense? And so if you go back in time, you can actually see, again, look at this point through here. We have the lower peak and lower trough. Again, look at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones, guys, because it failed to even make its highs compared to like the last couple of months, where all the other markets is doing, that's a sign that big movement on the downside is about to hit us. And I've been saying that for the last couple of weeks, and now we're starting to get a bit more confirmation that that's actually happening. So again, if you look at the Dow Jones and you look at this here, what actually happened? We started getting this lower trough, then we had this lower peak, and then we had like a slight little lower trough, and then we had another lower peak, and then we got a big drop down. When you start to get this sort of action, whether it's a deep run where we get like a big run up and a big run down, as long as we're getting that lower peak, lower trough action, it actually starts to show you what's happening. So as you can see here, right, we had a double top, and then we had a lower trough, and then we had a lower peak. And as you can see, as we started creating this lower trough and this lower peak and this lower trough and lower peak, that's when the market started to drop down. So in a nutshell, guys, by looking at what we see here on the Dow Jones, for me and everything I've just said, I see a lot more downside to coming. In the short term, maybe tomorrow, depending on what the FOMC does, I see the market may get a little rally, but that's just setting up for a lower peak and then down. And if that does happen, then we are really getting ready for some big down moves through the rest of the month, and probably even to July, maybe as well too. Who knows? But that's just what I see through there. Now, looking at the markets, that's just what I see on the Dow Jones. The S&P has also broken out of this trend line as well too. As you can see, this is actually retraced, a lot of this as well too. You guys know, going back from last week, I was saying that this is actually a bearish sign where the market runs up and it runs up through there, and the market's actually fallen off exactly like I thought it was going to do. Same for the Russell as well too. I said the market, this is a sucker rally, and the market has pulled back really nice and hard. But the Nasdaq has actually came down towards a support line, and it actually sort of had just like a small little lower close. And you can see where the Nasdaq is right now. So I actually think even all the markets are likely to get a little rise, but then I think that's just it, and then boom, down we just go straight away through there. So that's the Nasdaq. You can see the SPY with the increase in volume. Once again, the market's just showing that that real good consistent, literally like it's 3 days with a good consistent selling volume. That's saying something, guys. That's I trust you. Promise me. Trust me, guys. And it's hard to not to say that this is actually a bullish sign. Same for the Nasdaq as well too. Now the VIX had a little lower close. That's fine by me. I'm still in the VIX myself. I see a lot more high side, but again, I have shorter term options, which I've got to do something in the next couple of days with. I'll see what happens with the VIX over the next couple of days, but I have most of my larger positions with a long term option, and I see this thing over 50 by the next 3 or 4 months. And last one, guys, my transportation average. I've been saying to you guys as well too that the transportation average for me is actually looking really weak, and it's building a bit of a bear flag. And I am expecting this bear flag to peter out or start to basically form and start to go down. And I was saying to you guys that as this market was moving higher, that the transportation average was failing to make it was failing to make a good strong rally. So I said this is actually forming a bear flag, and this is actually likely to head down, and this is likely to start to bring the market down. And as you can see, that on the transportation average, that we actually had a big selling day as well too. The transportation average was down about 1.5%. So you can see through there. Now, if I bring up my line chart, I was also saying on the line chart, if you remember on the line chart, I was also saying that last week that if you look at this double top formation, you have this top, you have this top, you have this low. You see we actually had this lower trough, and I said this is the lower trough, and we're getting this weak weak buying action. I said that actually should equal a bit more downside to come, and that's actually what's actually happened. I also talked about the weekly chart, how the weekly chart made that lower trough, and now we're forming through there, and now we're rolling over. And interesting, we talk about that. Look at the Dow Jones. This is the Dow Jones. And you can actually see what's actually happening right now. We had this lower trough on the weekly chart. The market's rallied up, and now we're actually forming this lower peak. If this does break this level here, guys, trust me, we're going down big time. And why do I say that? Is if you look at the last time Dow Jones had a big run up, it came down, it made a lower trough, it had a big run up, it's stalled, it broke, and once it broke that level, we had a big drop down through there. And then we're likely to get another big drop. That's just what the market's telling us. So I'm definitely watching that level through there, but especially what I'm seeing right now, especially on the open highlight close charts and all those charts, to me, the market is getting ready for a lot more downside to come. And that's just what I see there, guys. So overall, guys, a lot more downside to come. And yeah, so I actually think, depending on what the market does right now, I still think to any of you guys, and I said this for the last couple of days, I said it all last week as well too, for any of you guys that are long, for any of you guys that are still bullish in this market, you really have to think about what you're really doing. I'm not going to BS you here. Trading is hard. Over my 10 years of trading, I've learned some amazing systems and strategies, and I've put it all in my brand new Grab the Markets by the Balls course, and I'm giving you 100% free access. This whole course is 12 videos long and almost 10 hours of the best systems and strategies that I know. Click on the image below now to get 100% free access right now.